So we finished the last video with the car running, and it was very exciting, and I was screaming, and then I test drove it around the parking lot, just on the clutch, no gas, and everything went really well, honestly. And then the car started to overheat. At least I think it did, I'm not sure. So I cut the car off, panicked, checked the oil. The oil said that it was empty. So I put oil in it, thinking I'd starved the engine of oil. Start the car back up and drive it into the shop, and it's puking oil all over the floor. And it turns out I overfilled it by a lot. I messaged my buddy Randy again and said, dude, what do I need to do? He gave me a list of things to go through and check, and we're gonna check those today and try to decide if we need to pull this engine out. So before we get into any of this, we just need to clean this engine. It's covered in oil basically everywhere. And cleaning an engine's pretty simple, especially if you're just trying to kind of blow all the crud off of it. Just get all your electrical stuff covered. You can see I covered the distributor and this kind of side wall where we've got some controllers and stuff. And then pressure washer. I know it's kind of nerve-wracking using a pressure washer, but it's totally fine. Just keep it off the electrical stuff and make sure you give the engine ample time to dry before running it again. Since we're going to be working on this for a few days, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be totally dry by the time we get this thing moving again. Once we get it clean, we're going to jump down to the valve covers and get those things popped off to see what's going on. If it's like torn, or try not to tear it taking it off. Or if there's a certain spot that looks like the oil was getting through, like maybe right there. So we're gonna do a valve cover gasket job on this anyway, but while we're in here, I wanted to check my lower head studs. I wanted to make sure that they are all tight and not broken. It's pretty common in these kind of late 70s Porsches for especially the lower head studs to break. So we're gonna give them a little twist. If they spin freely, they're broken, we're gonna have to pull the engine out. So the stakes are kind of high, but it's whatever. So we're hoping that none of these spin freely. Let's check. That one's good, that one's good, that one's good, that one's good, that one's tight. Last one, this is the one that's gonna spin, dude. Right here, you ready for it?
No, it's not gonna spin.
Dude, it's going to, I know it. All right, unless I just, all right. This one is much cleaner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that looks way better. Get all of these picked up. And then we're gonna check those studs. And if they're good, I'm gonna do a happy dance.
Good.
Good, that's tight. That's tight. That's tight. Ah, that's tight. Yeah, that's tight. Let's go. One more. Yeah, that's tight. Let's do this. That's another victory for the Porsche. Another one. Another one. I mean, that was easy. That was such an easy job. So much easier than I thought it was gonna be to get these off. That's awesome. That's great. This Porsche is just winning and winning and winning. And I'm not trying to jinx myself, because I know we're gonna lose at some point. I'm prepared for that. I wasn't even mad about taking the engine out, but if I don't have to, if I can drive it before then, I will be stoked. All right, cut to tomorrow. The wrench got stuck, so I had to use another one. But now this lifts out of the way. We should be able to get this out now. Take this. So we just use the zip tie, and that'll kind of hold that out of the way. If you look down in here, you can see our valve cover's down there where the spark plugs are going in. So we gotta get that off. All right. So this, come out in the sunlight. You can see when we washed our engine, all of that grime just got caught by this. So this is one of the reasons I really wanted to take this off. Yuck. We're gonna take the world's most versatile tool, AKA the pickle fork, and just scrape it. Dude.
That worked really well.
Pickle fork. If you don't, listen, guys, let me help you out. If you don't have a pickle fork, get a pickle fork. They are just, this is not like its primary purpose, but I grab this, we've used it, I use it almost every day. Almost every day. Pickle fork. Man, I'm so glad we did this. That is filthy. So here's a fun story. Patrick and I were at Lowe's, and we actually ran into the previous owner of this car from like way back when. And she stopped us in Lowe's. If you're watching, hey. She stopped us in Lowe's and said, I know this is random, but have I been watching you fix my family's old Porsche up on your YouTube channel? It's like, yeah. And she told me that when they got the car from like a father-in-law or something, it had an oil leak then, and it leaked from then on. So I think that all this caked up oil is just from leaking over the past, like, I don't know, 12 years, however long it's been. I don't know how long it's been. All right. So there is upper valve cover 1. Can't really see what I'm doing in there, so we're just gonna cut to pulling it out of the car now. There we go. Now you can see this side has seen a lot more oil. And it looks like we may have been leaking out the bottom of this one. That gasket's still on there. Gasket's still on there.
Might be.
If it is, it's stuck like, oh yeah. Oh no. These are aluminum, so put the razor blade in at the wrong angle and it just ruins everybody's day. This one, it seems like this gasket's been on for a really long time, and heat cycle after heat cycle after heat cycle just turns it into glue basically. We noticed in the first run of this car that the fuel gauge didn't work, so we picked up a new fuel sender, that's this big silver tube thing, and Pat threw that in while I finished cleaning up the valve covers. So we did go ahead and get some spark plug wires. These were really old. I just took the cap off, so I couldn't get them to come off. The cap looks okay. I did not get a cap yet. These caps are so easy to replace. Oh, so these are so old, they'll just pull apart when you try to unplug them. But no, they're like, let me show you this stuff. You've got these little boots, and like some of them are missing, and some of them are torn. It was just like, it was obviously time for new wires. And the reason you would kind of neglect to do new wires on one of these cars is because the wires are, the cheap ones, I mean, I say cheap, there's no cheap ones. But the ones that I got were not the most expensive, and they were $165. My main reasoning for taking them off was those boots letting all kinds of oil and other kind of crap into the spark plug wells. So yeah, you can see they're really gross looking. But aside from just being gross looking, the rubber is all dry rotting and it's falling apart, literally. So that'll be a welcome upgrade. We'll just leave those there for now. What we're gonna do now though is we're gonna adjust valves, which I've never done before, but it seems simple enough. Top dead center, feeler gauge into the valve, little thing, loosen valve adjustment nut if it needs it, tighten it down, tighten valve adjustment nut, donezo. So I made this is like a regular kind of feeler gauge that I just folded. Now you can't fold these too much, as I learned the hard way, because they'll just break. And so we broke it twice, and this is the final attempt. It's actually taped to another feeler gauge to give it some strength, and it is actually working. I ended up leaving last night, going home, just taking a breather, reading some more about doing this job, and I've got a better system now. Now I think this is one of those things you just kind of have to feel. You have to be able to do it, or you have to get in there and do it to know what's going on, because I would have never, I've read this article like 4 times, and I still had no idea what's going on. So we'll loosen this by hand. That gives us a lot of play. I just want to make sure I can spin it by my hand, and then I'll take this, and I think you guys, yeah, you can see. See how it moves now? This is what I could not figure out yesterday. So I'm going to lift it up so I have a gap, and then I take my feeler gauge, and okay, so now the feeler gauge is in the gap, and I'm going to push the rocker down on it and turn with my hand until the feeler gauge is held in there. So now the feeler gauge is held in there by itself. I can still move it pretty easily, but it's kind of sandwiched in between there. Then I'll run this nut right here. See this nut? We're gonna run that in. until it's pretty tight. And every time I tighten that nut up, I'm gonna check the feeler again. Feeler's still good. We could probably come out just a bit. Badly that this was just like a hex head.
I know, right?
It would make this so much easier. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. We're just figuring out as we go. But that one's good now, so we'll take the engine and we'll rotate another 120 degrees. There's marks on the wheel. So there's marks on the wheel that indicate every 120 degrees, which basically every 120 degrees you have a fire or combustion. So we're gonna go to the next 120 mark. Okay, and with cylinder number 5 done, we've adjusted all the valves, which is pretty exciting. Not as difficult as I thought, but you'll notice we didn't actually film the whole process because we stumbled through every single step. I'm gonna go back and check them all just one more time to make sure everything's right, since this is the first time we've ever done this. And then we get to start putting new stuff in. So we'll get the valve cover gaskets in, we got a new oil sender, we got all kinds of cool stuff to put in to make this thing function as a car on a daily basis. It's a bird in our shop. Yes. A lot of my friends ask me, like, a lot of times I just won't answer the phone. They're like, why didn't you answer the phone? I called you. This is why. Hello? We're gonna feed this underneath though. They definitely go to the same thing with the way they're bent. But I don't know what. So I don't know if I said this on camera, but the fuel filter's right there. We took the old one out and it didn't work. I've got a new one coming, I hope. I contacted the company that I bought it from and they said they would work on sending me another one, see if they could expedite one, we'll see. So for now, we put the old one back in. It works. We're just probably not getting an optimal fuel flow from it. So we'll get a new one in and that should solve that. Let's jack the front up, get the car level. We can check the thermostat. What is that thing called? The transmission level. And if it's good, get some tires, put it back on the ground and drive it. There are spiders actively living in this car. There's webs always like going down to the ground. I really hope that goes away. For you guys that don't follow me on Instagram, Pat and I found a wicked, huge black widow, which I'm told is a cousin to the red something spider in Australia, which is evidently equally as poisonous. Red something. Can't remember. You guys can comment below and tell me. So, and that kind of looks like, dude, I'm not gonna say that out loud. It kind of looks like that black widow nest. Just web, whatever.
If I get bit, do I have workers' comp?
Nope.
What?
So the dipstick for your transmission fluid is literally just your finger. If you can feel fluid in there, then you've got enough. And we've got enough, which is great. It feels pretty good. I'm still going to swap it out for that Swepco stuff. But I'm glad there's fluid in there because I definitely want to get a feel for the transmission before using that, using the Swepco. And then I'll know like if the Swepco is actually doing anything or if it's all just internet hoopla. Internet malarkey, you know? All right, so we got a new battery in. It's totally bolted in and good, hopefully. We've got our valve covers on. We've got our oil in. We checked our transmission fluid, it's good. We got a fuel sender, we got the oil temperature sender, we've got our air conditioning hooked back up. I don't have exhaust on it, so it's gonna be super, super loud, but it's also gonna let me know how this car sounds like all the way opened up, so that'll be interesting. And it's gonna allow us to really see if our valve covers are leaking at all, which they might. Car still smells like garbage. We hope, if all goes well, it's gonna start. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, so let's see. Yep. Yep. Nope. Let's see. All right, so we do, we had these things that look like they go somewhere, right? Pat, remember?
Yeah, I do remember those.
These wires, and we said if there's a problem with it starting, we're gonna connect them to something. So I think maybe we connect these to there and just see. We'll ask our mechanic friends too what they think. We got half a tank now, it said empty, so that works. We gotta watch our temperature now, see if that goes up. That's good. Dos Mas, and then we'll be able to start it. It should be a lot quieter. We're replacing all of our exhaust hardware with this grade 8, I guess it's zinc plated, that's why it's gold hardware. I'm hoping that will keep it from getting too rusty in the future. So that was our leak, the thing that we welded up. No more exhaust leak. Good deal. All right, let's go. So when I get really frustrated, and especially when I'm being filmed, I don't really know how to talk about it because I just want to kick something. And that's what happened just a minute ago. Basically, we dropped, I can't remember if I said this, I think I did on camera, but either way, I dropped something inside of the engine in like the air passage, and I cannot figure out how to get it out.
2 hours later.
Don't drop it. Oh, don't drop it. Oh, don't drop it. Okay. All right. All right. Oh no. Okay, wait. Okay, come on. You got this. You can do it. There's gonna be somebody that's like, hey dude, if you remove that one screw, you can just like reach in there and grab that thing. Never been so excited. It was like operation. All right, so I'm thinking like something obviously is majorly wrong. Sounds like timing, and it probably is to an extent. We've rechecked our timing, set it at top dead center. It should run. Even if it didn't run well, it should run. Spark is all there, we already checked that. So my next thing is fuel. We've replaced basically everything that we can replace except for this. You guys remember I got the wrong one. Huge shout out to FCP Euro. They're not sponsoring this. I paid full price for my parts. I've never used them before, but they have a lifetime warranty on everything, so I was like, I'll try them out. And here's why they get a shout out. I got the wrong pump from them, like in their database when I ordered it, it said it was for a 77, and it wasn't, so I emailed them, was like, hey guys, it wasn't for a 77, and they were like, oh, okay, we can get you another part. I was like, well, could you expedite it, because like, I'm waiting on this, and they did. So this got here in 2 days from when I sent that email, and you can see it's got the fittings on it. It's a little bit smaller, which is like whatever, but it's already got the fittings on it. So it should just bolt right in and work. And this thing is way lighter than this one. And that tells me this thing's full of, well, probably fuel, probably also a bunch of crap. Who knows how old it is. So we're gonna throw this in. I hope that that increases our fuel flow and that fixes the problem. I'm hoping that fuel is the issue. Like I said, SP Euro doesn't know that I'm a YouTuber. I didn't talk to them about sponsoring any video. I didn't tell them I was from YouTube because I just wanted to see how they were. And they totally came through for me here. So huge shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much. All right, new fuel filter. Let's see if that did it. Yeah, right.
That scared me.
Wow, that was so loud. I like felt that. Did you guys feel that?
Yes. What was that?
It was a backfire. Like I said, timing is out, and I hope this thing's okay. That was not good.
I'm better back up.
Yeah. Look at that. It was bad.
No, when you started.
I guess we'll try it again.
Oh. Here, get back.
Okay, well, it's been a whole day trying to diagnose this no-run deal, and I'm learning that basically no matter what, if a car hasn't run in a long time, it's not that difficult to get it to run, but to get it to drive is a whole nother story. And what's happened here, I think, is when we had that big backfire yesterday, this one, I think we might have cracked the airbox somewhere. Now the airbox for this car is not just the airbox, it's also the intake manifold, and it's made out of ABS or plastic. Uh-oh. So I don't think... Oh no! Okay, good news, bad news. But I found the problem. It is frustrating, but I found the problem. Alright, let me bring you guys in. I'm gonna guess that this thing was already cracked, and that's why I was kind of having some run issues. When we had that massive backfire yesterday, the pop-off valve worked to an extent. We saw fire come out of it, but watch this. That is not supposed to be possible. There's a piece that goes in right here that is that's like plastic welded in or whatever. It's a two-part thing, and ours is completely separated. All right, so we don't put this rocker in here to calm me down in situations like this. Maybe that means I'm getting old. What's got to happen now, which is a huge bummer, is we're gonna have to drain the oil out. And don't judge me, but I might drain it back into the oil containers and reuse it. It's brand new. But we're gonna have to drain the oil out. We are going to have to figure out how to take the engine out, which luckily this book tells you how. And we're gonna take the engine out, because that's how you replace the airbox. All right, so the cool thing about this book is there is like a step-by-step process on things to do to drop the engine, basically like a checklist. And so I'm just working through that checklist. Luckily, I've done a bunch of work on this car now, and I know what all the stuff is, so we're just gonna go through it and drop the engine. I know a lot of you guys are probably wondering if I am actually going to catch the oil out of the engine and reuse it. Of course I am. I've got it right here, and we will reuse it because it looks brand new, and it's just wasteful. It's just wasteful.
Oh yeah.
I've got so much. Let's talk about Sonic tools. We're having a Father's Day sale. And that's what we're using to listen to
It
this.
startled me. I jumped the camera.
We've actually done almost this entire engine pulling with one Sonic toolkit. A little 3/8 socket wrench box, and it's really great. We had to use that. Yeah, you can film that. It was like that toolkit, a flathead screwdriver, and a couple of wrenches, like four regular wrenches is all that we needed to literally take this motor out, which is pretty awesome. Now, getting a motor out of any car that you're not familiar with is a challenge, and with the Porsche, it's a little bit more so because everything's just a little bit weird, and there's some sort of skill required for every single connection. Nothing's necessarily hard, but there's an order of operations, and there's this kind of ballet that you have to do with the car, lifting it up, lowering it, lifting it up, dropping the engine, pulling the engine backwards, lifting it up, and it is just a task when you have no idea what you're doing. So this actually took us 3 tries of taking the engine out, putting the engine back in, and just trying some different things. When we couldn't get it out the way the book said, I tried lowering the car all the way down so the engine was sitting on a dolly, and then unbolting it and lifting the car off. This didn't work. It didn't work mainly because part of the transmission was seized and I was just having trouble separating the engine from the transmission. So I contacted Randy at DC Auto again, and he said, do not pull the thing alone. Pull it with the transmission. You will thank yourself later. It is so much easier. So that's what we did on the third removal of the engine and trans, and it was way, way easier. With the engine down on a jack and the transmission on a dolly, we were able to just pull this thing directly out from underneath the car, and our engine was out. Like I said, this was not easy, but I do think it will be easy the second time around when I actually know all of the connections and everything that needs to happen to get the engine out. This engine was made to be removed, so it's very easy in theory, I guess. Way, way easier to get this out with the transmission still connected than it was trying to kind of shimmy the engine off of the transmission. I don't know why you would ever just pull the engine, honestly. It was just so much. It was 4 more things you have to disconnect: the speedometer, both of the CV axles, and the ground strap. And the gas pedal. It was just nothing. I mean, it might have been an hour of work. And now both things are out, which is great, which means we can clean both of them. Our CV boot on the driver's side is blown up, and so it's been slinging grease all over this thing for who knows how long. About an inch of grease piled up behind it where it's been spinning and just throwing grease onto the transmission. So that's no bueno, but the good thing is we have this out now, so we can clean the engine off really well, we can clean underneath the car really well, and kind of start from scratch with oil leaks and things like that. We're not going to be trying to diagnose problems with this car with just a nasty, dirty old car. While this thing's out, we're not going to do a lot of while you're in there. So I know that's really common. Basically every Porsche YouTube video I've seen, they get the engine out and it's like, while we're here, let's rebuild the whole thing. So we're not going to do that. We're going to fix the thing that's broken, and we're going to clean it up real good. And that's pretty much it. I may remove my smog pump stuff because it's not connected anyway. I don't know. I'm going to look into that. But either way, it's going to be fix it, get it right, put it back in the car, drive the car. That's the plan. We had to pull the engine out to fix this airbox. It's just the way you're supposed to do it. But I'm super happy that we figured out how to take the engine out now, the easiest way to take the engine out, and what all needs to be disconnected. And we're going to get an opportunity to really clean the engine and make it look brand new. So that's really exciting too. So sorry we're not driving the car in this video. I really thought we would be, but we will be in part 2. We're not even going to publish part 2 unless we do. So we will be in part 2. But before that, well, during that, we're going to clean the engine up. We're going to fix our airbox. We're waiting on parts right now. So when all that comes in, we'll replace it all. We will fix it all. We will put the engine and trans back in, and we will finally be able to drive this car. Finally. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. I hope you guys are enjoying me attempting to get this dream car running and getting it driving. This is a huge dream car of mine, and getting it running and doing it on a budget is not the easiest of tasks. As you can see, I'm covered in sweat, but it is happening. I'm very excited. If you want to see this thing running, make sure to subscribe. Part 2, we're going to drive it down the street, and it's going to be awesome. See you later.